9 years ago, I flew over one of the most remote places in Canada, and ever since I've wondered what life was actually like there. So today I'm heading deep into the Arctic to finally find out. Well, good morning from beautiful Yellowknife here in Canada, and as beautiful as this place is, today we're taking a little flight out of here, heading north, very north. Alrighty, Yellowknife Airport, the main passenger terminal for today's flight. Let's go and get checked in. Alrighty, all checked in for Cambridge Bay.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I attention please? Speed boarding is now available for Canadian North Flight 658 with service out of Cambridge Bay and Gloucester. Thank you.
My ride today up to Cambridge Bay was this ATR 42 of Canadian North. Hang on him. The seats aren't too bad for a single 2-hour hop, but as I'd find out on the way back, it's not too great if you're spending all day on it. Cambridge Bay's about a 2-hour flight north on this ATR 42. It's up in northern Nunavut. Now, Cambridge Bay is one of those places that's fascinated me for absolutely years. I flew over it many years ago on a United Airlines 747 flying from Frankfurt to San Francisco, of all places. It was the first time that I'd ever seen northern Canada from the window of a plane, and it absolutely captivated me. For many years it was my favourite flight I'd ever done, getting to see some of these tiny little islands and lakes and the scenery of northern Canada. It was just incredible. And today, finally, after all these years, I'm going to be heading up there and setting foot in the place that I once saw from 35,000 feet. And now, 9 years after first seeing Cambridge Bay, I was finally about to find out what life was really like here. As we began our final approach, the town I'd first seen from 37,000 feet nearly 9 years earlier finally came back into view. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cambridge Bay. As you'd expect, the airport up here is pretty tiny, but it does see between 2 or 3 flights a day with Canadian North, connecting Yellowknife with small towns all over northern Nunavut.
Noel?
Yes,
Wendy, how are you?
Good to meet you.
And this is Bob, drumming up business.
Home to around 2,000 people, Cambridge Bay is one of the largest communities in Canada's Arctic. With no roads connecting it to the rest of the country, almost everything from food to fuel and building materials has to arrive either by aircraft or by sea lift during the brief summer months.
There, okay,
There
the
we
grey
go.
one's outside.
Oh, this is all right, isn't it? This is the Enoch Inn here in Cambridge Bay. And I've got the place to myself. There's like 3 or 4 bedrooms, like a living room here. There's a kitchen, there's a laundry, everything. It's one of, I think there's like 2 hotels here in Cambridge Bay that you can book and stay in. And this was the one that I picked because you could book it online, and it's actually quite nice. So I'm going to drop my bags here. We're going to have a little look around the town of Cambridge Bay and see what there is. But to do that, it was time to get acquainted with my new set of wheels. Nice.
Start it up.
Give it a go. This is probably the time I should say that I've never ridden a 4-wheeler in my life. But it's the only way you can get around town here in Cambridge Bay.
Head out on the highway. You're not gonna make it happen. All the world is a loving place. Born to be wild.
So I've made it to the other side of the little inlet where Cambridge Bay sits. There's the town right over there. This behind me is the Northwest Passage. And for hundreds of years, it was a way that people were trying to get through from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. It goes all the way across the top of Canada. And Cambridge Bay was one of the most important towns along this path because it was a little place where they could stop. It's quite deep water here as well. There's a little harbour there where they could dock even the biggest ships. And they even get cruise ships coming in here, apparently, in the summer, once all the ice has gone, at least. But what an important place this is, the Northwest Passage of all places. But the Northwest Passage is only one part of Cambridge Bay's story. I've come out to the other side of town because there is something else really cool here up in Cambridge Bay. This behind me is the Cambridge Bay radar system. It's part of the DEW line, the distant early warning line that we find all across the Arctic. I've seen these over in Barrow in Alaska and in other places as well across the north of North America. And these radar stations formed a line, the DEW line, distant early warning. So anytime that the Russians sent anything from Russia, which is kind of just a few hundred miles that way, they'd come this way towards America and Canada. So the Canadians and the Americans joined up and put a whole load of these things across the north coast of the American continent. So if anything did come this way, they'd get an early warning from as far north as Cambridge Bay, north, high up in the Arctic here. This one's actually still in use. A lot of them have been decommissioned, but the Cambridge Bay one is still in use today. It's one of the few that are still going, and it's pretty cool to come up here and find it. With the history lesson over, it was time to continue exploring the town. Assuming I could actually see where I was going. And I'd found something special, because what I found in Cambridge Bay was the northernmost KFC in the world. Shall we go and try what it's like? Let's try and have a KFC up here in the Arctic Circle. But once I got inside, what I found was not what I was expecting, because this KFC was part of a huge supermarket. Jesus, look at some of the prices in there. $10 for a gallon of milk. Flipping heck, hopefully you're lactose intolerant if you live up here. That's crazy. $20 for a pack of eggs. Jeez. They've got some mac and cheese, which looks nice. It's $18. $18. Sheesh. They even had my favourite pickled eggs, but at $18, I figured I'd give it a miss. I was going to pick up a can of Monster at $9. I think I'll just stay grumpy and decaffeinated for tonight.
Would you like your receipt?
Yes, please. Thank you. Have a great day. Well, how else was I going to explain to my accountant that I spent $20 on chicken nuggets? Well, that's the first time I've ever had to go into a supermarket and get KFC off the shelf, but for $20, this had better be good KFC. Let's get back to the hotel on the Noelmobile. Now, spending the last few days around the Canadian Arctic has been a pretty good reminder of just how connected everything is these days. Because to get here to Cambridge Bay, a tiny community thousands of miles from most major cities, my information's ended up with airlines, airports, booking systems, security systems, hotel booking sites, rental companies, and who knows how many other databases along the way. And online, it gets even worse. Data brokers collect your personal information, things like your name, phone number, address, and browsing activity, and then sell it on to other companies, often completely behind the scenes. Which is why you suddenly start getting spam phone calls, scam emails, targeted ads, and all sorts of other random nonsense. And that's why I use Incogni. You see, Incogni automatically contacts data brokers on your behalf and requests the removal of your personal information from their databases. Instead of spending hours trying to track down dozens of different companies yourself, Incogni handles the requests and follow-ups automatically. And one feature I really like is the custom removal tool, because if you find a specific website that's got your personal information on it, you can send it directly to Incogni and they'll request its removal for you as well. So if you'd like to take back a little bit more control over your personal information online, click the link in the description below and use my code Noel Phillips for an exclusive discount off an Incogni plan, because honestly, after spending days travelling through some of the most remote places in North America, it's slightly unsettling to realise that my personal data has probably travelled even further than I have. Let's try the Northernmost KFC, miles from Kentucky in the Arctic Circle. Let's try it. Is it as good as KFC on Mount Everest was? Let's try it. It's a bit dry. Maybe they've not mastered the art of frying chickens up here in the Arctic yet. But honestly, the fact that you can come all the way up here to Cambridge Bay, inside the Arctic Circle, literally have KFC, I ain't complaining.
After dinner, I settled in for a quiet evening, until this happened.
What the heckity heck was that? It's 10 o'clock at night and this siren's just gone off in the entire town. That was scary. So apparently here in Cambridge Bay, there's a nightly curfew at 10 p.m. where all the kids have to be home by 10. So the siren goes off every single night at 10 o'clock, telling all the kids that they've got to go home. And there's kids, sure enough, all going home outside from wherever they are. That is a weird way of making sure that the kids are home. It's a little bit disruptive, if I'm honest. That freaked me out. I was thinking it sounded like we were about to get an air raid or something, but no, just time for the kids to go home. All right, so it's officially midnight here in Cambridge Bay. Would you look at that? The sun is out. Now, I have been to places all over the Arctic where it's supposed to be midnight sun, and it's always been cloudy. I've never actually been able to see the midnight sun, but here we are, it's literally midnight, and it's high in the sky. It's not like a sunset or something, it's literally just like the middle of the day. It's crazy. Beautiful light as well, this is amazing. Come to Cambridge Bay in the middle of summer and you will see the midnight sun. Isn't that cool?
There are some places that simply defy words. And the Canadian Arctic, under the midnight sun, was one of them. As it turned out, some places are worth waiting 9 years for.
Alrighty, it's time to say goodbye to Cambridge Bay and get back to Yellowknife, but it's not a straight flight back because the Cambridge Bay route is just the first stop on like a multi-stop thing. So we've got about 3 stops today on our ride. Long old day today, riding the ATR all the way back to Yellowknife. So let's go and get across to the airport and get checked in. Hey Bob.
Sir, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
After an unforgettable 24 hours in Cambridge Bay, it was time to begin the long journey back to Yellowknife. But before I left, there was one more side of life here that Bob wanted me to understand.
Now, you think, like one of the big problems in these communities is like this community here, for example, is a dry community.
Right.
You can get a permit to bring booze in, but drugs are rampant. I don't know, did you see, drugs are a huge problem. And there's never a freaking drug dog in any of these.
No.
So people can come and go.
Bring them wherever you like.
Yeah.
Is the airplane on time? Oh, right on.
Oh, right.
Okay.
And thank you.
Do you have a bag to check?
No, just carry on. You've got me all printed out already. Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
It's almost like
this
you're
gentleman traveled all the way up here to be here to come and see the town one night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Highlight
Awesome.
so far of me coming up here to meet you. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks
for
a lot, Bob. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Take care.
See ya. You too. So apparently the plane is on its way. It's taking off from Yellowknife. It's heading up here to Cambridge Bay to take me on this little flight back to Yellowknife. Well, I say little, we've got like 3 stops all around Nunavut before we head back to Yellowknife. So yes, let's get out of here.
Unlike the direct flight that brought me here yesterday, getting back to Yellowknife wasn't nearly as straightforward. Over the next 6 hours, we'd be stopping at 4 different communities across Nunavut before finally reaching Yellowknife. The inbound plane from Yellowknife dropped off a few passengers, and then it was my time to get on board.
Thank you. Have a good day.
I got my last few seconds of stretching my legs out of the way before I got on board for a 6-hour flight on an ATR.
So 3 stops today then. The first one to a place called Tally-Ho-Hoke. Tally-Ho, let's go to Tally-Ho-Hoke.
Tally-Hoke's about an hour's flight east of Cambridge Bay. And honestly, after this flight I wasn't feeling too bad. The scenery was good, I was still fresh, and pretty soon we were landing down into Tally-Ho-Hoke in Nunavut. After a brief stop here, we lost some passengers, gained a few more, and then got on our way for stop 2 of the day to Coogalook. This was the shortest flight of the day, just 35 minutes.
Then Coogalook, another few minutes on the ground here, and then we are off to the next stop, Joahaven. Oh, this is a long ride on an ATR.
After a few minutes on the ground in Coogalook, we took off for the next leg, heading west this time to Joahaven, a 37-minute flight. Joahaven had been fogged in for a few days at this point, so loads of flights had been cancelled. Because of that, there were loads of aircraft here coming and going. This freighter plane was there, and we had loads of passengers on our flight that were due to fly over the previous couple of days. Eventually though, everybody was back on board and it was time to take off for the longest flight of the day. We said goodbye to Joahaven and set off south for the 2.5-hour flight back to Yellowknife. And honestly, I have to say, by this point the day was really dragging. By the time I reached Yellowknife, I'd been on this plane for over 6 hours.
Kelly Crew, please prepare for landing.
When I'd first arrived in Yellowknife a few days earlier, it had felt like a tiny remote town. But after spending 24 hours in Cambridge Bay and passing through communities even smaller than that, it suddenly felt like a bustling city. Cambridge Bay had fascinated me ever since I first flew over it 9 years ago. After finally spending 24 hours there, I left with a far greater appreciation not only for its incredible beauty, but also for the resilience of the people who call it home.
Thank you.
Oh, here we are then, back in Yellowknife after an amazing little trip up there to Cambridge Bay. Another bucket list destination checked off. Really, really cool place. I enjoyed that quite a lot actually. Let me know what you thought to Cambridge Bay down in those comments. As always, I'm off to get some rest, try and get some sleep without having to stay up with the midnight sun. But in any case, thank you so much as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.